Does anyone want to volunteer to go through their marketing materials for us to review?
Like website or?
Yeah, website. It could be your like a lead magnet, whatever it might be. Okay. Let me. Hmm.
And we got some friends over there that took a trip with us. And just be more anyway, all those connections. I got that idea just opens the start. Yeah, start out. So we have training there. So that's where yeah, that kind of that's what they're doing.
Okay, so here we have Driftwood Equity Partners website, which there's a lot that's going right here. So does anyone have any sort of comments or observations here first, just upon looking at the homepage?
Obviously, wants to sign up for the newsletter.
Mm-hmm. And so what do you do with the newsletter? How often do you send it?
Newsletter is a bit of a cadence to it. About a year, it's weekly, and then it turns into bi-weekly. It's about four to 6 months of that, and then after that, it's monthly.
Okay.
So there's a little bit of a tapering that we will keep their attention. And, the open rates suggest that we retain our newsletter sign-overs.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you share new deals with everyone who signs up for the newsletter? Okay. That's like your invest with us. Okay, very cool. So right off the bat, I think it's fantastic that this button right here, your CTA, your call to action, is right front and center. That being said, generally speaking, this is the most prime real estate on your website. So trying to reduce the amount of kind of dead space. I mean, obviously this is very pretty, like aesthetically looks good, but trying to maximize the space here with perhaps valuable information. You obviously want to make sure that you're not overcrowding it, but I think that's the best thing, is having your CTA right there front and center, which is also, like Mike pointed out, great that you have the sign up for the newsletter right front and center.
Real quick before we move on, just to fill in the extra space there, I've seen some do it with a video right there to the right of that. It's like you have that personal touch.
Yes, yeah, that's what we do as well.
Okay.
So you're talking right to the right there, on the hero shot?
Yes, like I'll show you guys what we do at Lone Star.
By the way, there's a little misunderstanding of the shooting.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to start at 2 or a little bit before that. So we're just going to go ahead and like anything that's later here, like Group A is going and shooting right now. Sam Eder is going to switch it around a little bit. So we'll have to get a little creative in the scheduling, but
They can't start shooting earlier.
they need like a security person. They were articulated starting at 2, but we can just move things around accordingly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, surprise. Every event is full of surprises. Yep. So I think this is good. I think depending on what your goals are as you're raising capital, you want to be always thinking about like this is the most prime real estate. So for us, we love 1031 exchanges, so this would totally make sense for us to have this on the first page. That being said, every CTA, you don't want people to like, you always want to lead them to the newsletter. So this isn't like egregious, like sending people other places, but I would just try to limit that as much as possible. That's the same with up here. Again, this is great, but if you could consolidate about and how it works, that would be helpful. You just want to, like, you either want them to call you. Come on. You either want them to call you or sign up for the newsletter. That's your main way that you're going to make money from someone visiting your website. I think this is something that you guys haven't done, which is good. Like, we just did an audit of our website and we had social media links, which can be really helpful for establishing credibility. But like, we work so hard on social media to get people to our website. So like the last thing that in reality we want to do is take them away from our website. We want to get them there, capture their information. So you don't really capture their information on social media. So that's good. You guys didn't do that. So the About page, does anyone have any comments here? Just right off the bat, observations.
A lot of light.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hate to be critical because I do think that this is a great website, but reducing the amount of white space is obviously beneficial. The margins here are also, margins are great. We are actually trying to redo our website to increase the margins. For some reason, we've had a hard time with small margins, but you could reduce this margin, get more. And so you don't want people to have to scroll too far to get the information that they need. And so that being said, if they're really interested in your portfolio, they know where to find it right on this header. So if you're gonna have a CTA, I would put sign up or like invest with us. You don't wanna be super redundant with like the newsletter, right? There's different ways to kind of capture them. So like invest with us would be like a nice touch there. Yeah, I think this is pretty good. I think you guys are, really focused on like whoever's coming to your website probably has made some connection with you, whether it be on you or Matt on social media. So I think it's good that you have, you make it very clear. Sometimes I go on people's website that it makes sense for very large companies, but there's no sort of sense of who is actually running the company. Like the team is like not even there. It doesn't really have that personal aspect. I think in this business, it's great to have, that personal touch and an emphasis on the people in this line of business. Okay, so yeah, like this is good that you bring them back, you talk about how it works. I do think that you could consolidate these two pages, especially, if you're able to increase or decrease the margins. And I haven't had a chance to really go through everything, but I think that our model and what you have down here and just on this page in general could be a little redundant.
Are you wanting to combine those two pages because you're minimizing the amount of pages they have to click on?
Yeah, like on the header. Mm-hmm.
I just question, beyond format, think about like search engine optimization. Is there any recommendations about how to approach that?
Yeah, linking, which is something that you want to balance. like most of the time when we're posting on social media, we post on Rob's accounts 8 times a week, on Craig 7 and Sam 7. So we have a full machine for all 3 of them. It's very systematic about the way that we do it. So every day, every post, it's predetermined what we're wanting people to do after they see that post. So whether it be promoting the summit, most of the time though, like the most common CTA that we have is to get people to invest with us. That being said, there is benefit to getting people to your blogs. So this is something that I'm starting out doing is Sam's going to be posting an article and actually posting that within LinkedIn, and getting people to the website via a blog is helpful for SEO. So is just in general, like having someone link your website in another website is very helpful. That's a bit harder to do. But like I've had people who we've had like posted testimonials for, they were wondering if like they could, if we could include their website in our testimonial. Because if someone goes on our website, clicks on their website, that helps their website. It's like basically just gaining credibility. The more time it's mentioned, the better. So if there's any way that you can think of to get people to post your website somewhere else, that's helpful.
For what it's worth, our web guy, he works for someone else, has plenty of other accounts that he kind of he designs for, and notice some overlap with their offering and ours, and others, and so you got such a person, that could be an easy one, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you got the other accounts that, like maybe purely similar businesses, simple, right, and free.
Right. Makes sense.
That is something that I want to get more into for sure, is that the SEO. I do like analysis of where our leads come from. And while most of them come from social media with like all the organic growth and all what we're posting, I was shocked to see that about, I think it's like 20 to 25% come from Google search. So it definitely, I think, is worth doubling down on SEO. That's something that just we haven't truthfully done very much of to this point. It's been really like organic social media that we've gotten our leads from.
You looked at your leads by platform, and what's in what direction? LinkedIn or?
Yeah, I think the way that we like are set up, I think a lot of people find us mostly on LinkedIn, and specifically Rob's LinkedIn. But most of the time when we, like just from an anecdotal perspective, when we talk to people in person, they're like, oh, I've been watching your guys' podcast for years. I've been watching Rob's. The podcast is, I think, like almost 2 years old, but Rob's been doing podcasts / videos on YouTube for much longer than that. And so I think people really become fans and get to know you and trust you through YouTube. So I don't think that they initially find us there, because if you look on our YouTube, like our videos get like, a lot of them just get like 100 views. But we'll go and have like a happy hour, and like some of our best investors are like, oh, I was watching you for 3 years, and it's so great to meet you in person. And it takes them 3 years to actually finally invest. That's not every person, but we've gotten a lot of great investors just from the podcast on YouTube. And like people that will come out, there was one this kind of more recently invested over $1 million right off the bat, retail investor, found us on YouTube. Well, he watched the YouTube. I think he found us on LinkedIn, but I don't want to like hound them and be like, where did you first find us?
That's less questions.
Don't want to scare them off, but I think so with this blog, it's great that you're keeping up with it. Speaking to myself, like we need to keep up with our blog. We've been focusing a lot with podcasting.
Strategy. Our social media guy, he's helped SEO,
Mm-hmm.
and the impacts of the blog.
Yep.
And it's pretty impressive, the data that gets pulled from, inundating the World Wide Web.
For sure.
With the words you want and the lead gen that you're anticipating.
Yeah.
And knowing their affinity for marketing and really their value.
For sure.
It's cool to see the trends with just blog posts that he writes.
Yeah.
You know, you could partake the same risk.
Yeah, absolutely. And also I think the relevant or the recency of the articles helps. And just keeping up with it, just like from a user perspective, if you get on the website, you see it's like, oh, it was just like last month. That's great, or actually 2 days ago. So I think that's great. That's something that is really helpful. You don't want to have like stale content in your website. You want people to feel like a website's dynamic. You should be working on it. You should be auditing it. So that's great. That being said, just to be nitpicky, I think it's better to do like a scroll, like a load more and scroll versus 2 pages. And then there's also, these are missing right here. So just optimizing that space.
Can you repeat that again? You said you don't like the scrolling or?
No, like doing a load more, like,
Oh.
and then scroll, like load more and then scroll.
Rather than have page 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, I think it's just a bit more user friendly. And then, yeah, like optimizing this space right here and making sure that that's filled out. Oh, there's us. Yep. Again, I don't think like an investor who is, just becoming acclimated with you would really know or care, but having them in chronological order, I think is helpful. And also it would be helpful if you're like talking to them and, if you were talking about like some recent deals that you've done, you'd probably want to be talking about Lakes at 610 rather than some of the slightly older deals that you've done.
So you get that flip, because it's honestly, it's.
Reverse. But I think that this is nice. This is clean. Those are the things that people, care about. I think it would be helpful to have some story. Investors really care about the story because these are also projected, which is clear with the target. But having some sort of story like for Lakes at 610 and Beckley Highland and Meritage, we partnered with the Houston Housing Authority with the tax exemption. I think a lot of investors get super excited about that. So and Madison at Bear Creek. So I think having some bit of story, I could show you what we do, which again, we're in the midst of a big marketing sort of revamp, but just to get you an idea, we want to consolidate this and make it look a bit better, but we talk about the business plan and kind of what we're planning on doing with it. So I think that's helpful because people are wanting to know like what value are you bringing to the table on these deals and what kind of makes these deals unique. It's helpful.
So I have a branding question. So when I went to your website, can we go there? To your
Yeah.
website for a second? So I understand your business model, you're exclusively investing in Texas. So when I looked at this, I said, well, this looks like scenes from New York. So I'm just like, it's kind of a mixed message, is what I was picking up. So are you thinking about changing like your brand in terms of how you're presenting your brand? As we're Texas focused, firm. It's just something that just struck me as kind of interesting.
Yeah, and you're not alone. A lot of people ask, like, why are you guys in New York, or things like that. I think when we first started Lone Star, our focus was really institutional capital, which is really that, and that's true to us. Like, we want to be very institutional, very professional about everything that we do. It doesn't matter who the investor is or who our target investor is. So that's really kind of the New York, like Wall Street vibe that we go for, and that's really our branding. And so, like, what we like to say is that we have like institutional level reporting and things like that, but we give that, like, it's accessible to any investor. So that's kind of goes with our branding, but I do agree with you that people do get confused by it. I don't want to change the name. Like, there's been talks about that. I really don't want to change the name. That would be a nightmare for me. And I do think confusion is the worst thing that you can do when you have new investors. And so I don't think that we're going to do anything radical. But I think having more hints of like showing us in Texas, investors really do like. So capturing those moments of us in Texas and being, closer to the asset is helpful.
It's not meant to be critical. It's just to bring up the point that brands
Yeah.
is presenting a clear brand,
Hmm.
relatable brand is important.
Yeah, and that it also represents like what you stand for. So like, while our brand is maybe a little confusing because it's not super Texan, it is kind of it is very much like our vibe. And we do plan in the future to expand to other states. We're looking currently in Phoenix, so I think it will make a little bit more sense when we're in other states. But our name also is, there's always going to be very Texan. Yeah.
I feel like that's the story of it. I mean, all of the branding is your story, and it's like from New York to Texas and beyond, right?
Mhm.
Like, I think people can follow along the brand journey, and there's a way to probably communicate that.
Yeah.
And stay on brand, stay on name, and still make sense to people. I think there's a bridge there.
Yep. I'd say that this is a little cluttered slightly, and I think that part like the tax benefits, like if you're talking about depreciation, I think that would go more so on like the how it works / about page. And yeah, I think that these things can be consolidated as well. And you could just add some more information, like I was saying, like in a pop-up here, where more deal specific, but you know, you can still touch on these sort of highlights, like talking about the management that's managing those specific properties and things like that. Here's just a little typo, which most people kind of read past, but and then also it's like, you're interested in investing, read our frequently asked questions. Why don't you just book a call instead, right? That's a more direct way to get them. Do you have an address?
We do.
So maybe having that, like it builds legitimacy that like you have a physical location. And then, I don't know, I'm not a lawyer here, so take this with a grain of salt, but I would probably remove some of the disclaimer or it entirely, because you're not actually offering any investments on this website, I don't think, right? You're just talking about what you've done in the past. So I think you could get away with that, with getting rid of it, but I would consult, I have to say that.
No, not helpful though. You wanna go back to the bottom, move further. One thing is, it's really, really minor, but it's relevant when you look at it, is the thing being updated. Look at the date for the copyright.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good call. Yeah, having that like recent, very updated feeling to a website is important. Which is funny because, like, if you're really working on what you're supposed to be, like your website probably shouldn't be super updated, but it does. It's like very opposite. Like, I was just talking to an investor of ours. This is a little bit of a tangent, but I was talking to an investor of ours, and he was talking about a deal that was struggling, and he was talking directly to the asset manager, and he was like, why am I talking to you? Like, you should be managing the asset, right? Like, there should be a specific person that I talk to about these problems, like someone like me. So I feel like a lot of times investors, or I would think that investors would have that disconnect, but people do think like in those ways, so anyways, a little bit of a tangent, but despite, like, you really should be working on the business and not like watching your website like a hawk, but it does help. I also think having a generic email would help with credibility as well, like something that it could just go to you or it could go to yourself and Matt. Like, we have just a general IR email. It's also helpful for, I don't know if you have any sort of virtual assistants or assistants at all, but them fielding those is helpful. We have like 4 people receive all of our IR emails, and everyone knows like which ones how to handle what type of inquiry.
And I had a little bit here. One of the challenges with websites is that we get tired of the look internally, company-wise.
Mm-hmm.
We think, oh, we gotta change it, we gotta keep updating,
And because we've been this way for 3 months. Well, think about everybody that's coming to your site new, has never seen it. So it may be old to you, but it may not be old to the people that are coming to it. So keep in mind, and the question we ask ourselves, what problem are we solving? If we're gonna make a change, are we solving a problem? Are we solving a symptom? Or let's just change it because it feels good. Well, make sure you're solving a problem when you make a change. But remember, you get somebody coming, well, they're gonna be in your system. Well, the person that comes next week has never seen your webpage for the first time, and you make the changes. But it's new to them, but maybe old to us, the way we look at it. And we feel like our website's tired, but really it may not be.
Yeah.
So be careful what you change.
For sure. I think just like keeping it updated. That being said, though, this is the third website that we've had at Lone Star. This is the second one that I've done, and I haven't been focusing. I've been focusing on other stuff. I haven't been looking at the website up until recently. I maybe didn't look at it for maybe 6 months or something. I mean, obviously I'm on it, but like really taking a look at it, and I'm like horrified at a lot of the stuff that's on there. Just like from looks perspective. Thank you. But like, I don't know, we're hypercritical about our website. Like, so people will compliment it sometimes, and we're like, really, like internally. But I think you're really right. Like, we get tired of it, and it's like we know all the back stuff, all the problems that we fixed, and so we just don't think of it as being super sleek. But yeah, I think people.
Are you using analytics to know what to change? Or is it just emotional looking?
More like strategy, but we haven't been using, as of late, like with our most recent updates, it hasn't been from like an analytics perspective, no. Do you do that?
In past life and et cetera, you make a change based on analytics or what's the accomplishment, what you want to accomplish. And the number one thing here is get someone to send the newsletter and make a book a phone call.
Right.
So everything you do is, that's it. There's a good phrase, everybody heard of Ogilvy, the marketing guy? He says it's only created with itself. So if you've got something black with white reverse saying some message and it works, that's very creative. So if whatever your call to action is, make sure it's going to that, like you said really well. If it sounds like, what's the number one objective when you get your website? What is that? The
Email.
Sign up. So everything you should do, go to that. And
Yep.
and then you can use, it's easy for analytics then to see if in fact are they going around to get to it, you want them to go to it right away. So, but we get caught up in it looks cool. From our side, we're just as guilty as everybody else. Oh, it looks cool, we gotta change it. And
Yeah.
it didn't make any difference in people signing up.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's the number one thing. Like a website and the look is really more so to convey branding, credibility, and looking professional. But a lot of people have like a very bare bones website or not super professional branding, but if they speak to the investor and they know like marketing from like a lead, like the investor journey, not the investor journey, but like more like the user journey through whether it be social media, like you can be super successful and not have like the most fancy and decked out website. Interesting. So I don't know if you have been tracking this, but do you, thank you. Do you track like how many people actually call you through here? Just out of curiosity. I don't have much of an opinion on that. Yeah. Is this your direct line?
It's the ubiquitous line.
Okay, cool. That's what we do too. Yeah, and it goes to my phone, and it's the bane of my existence. Okay, cool. This is a little blurry, so I would fix that. But other than that, I think that's it. Actually, one sec.
Very helpful.
I think this is great. A lot of people want to collect as much information as possible, which, we obviously want to know as much as possible, but just like from a statistical perspective, like people are less likely to actually submit the form with each additional field. So I think it's great that you have this pretty simple, very simple. So I think that's great. I'd remove this space, just
The correct investment criteria.
no, the submit now space, exclamation point.
Oh, for-
That's very nitpicky, but no, definitely. It's great to give people the space to have more context. A lot of people make it required. Like we have more things that are required on there, but yeah, the more things that are required and extra fields just reduces the amount of people actually submitting. All right. Well, we have 15 more minutes if we want to do anyone else's website real quick, or we can talk about other stuff.
What about, how you guys support using, I'll just put the two letters out, AI as a method to respond to prospective investors or clients to have the conversations with them, tell them more conversationally about investments if they have questions? I bring it up because I invest in a fund that's primarily in self-storage segment, and they have a pretty good grasp of technology. It's a good website. We invested in like an AI. I don't want to call it a chatbot, but basically you have like a long, a very extensive conversation about a project. It could be financial, project status. It's like we're talking to the fund manager, project manager. Pretty impressive. Bit of investment to train it. I don't want to know data information on the model. So I'm just curious if you're looking into that. I think there's some value.
Yeah.
That like conversation with clients, at least at some level,
Yeah.
and without it being like too customer service.
Right.
Very oriented.
Yeah. I would say like my first thoughts on that, the quicker that you can get a response to investor, the better. Like just even every minute or hour that goes by that you don't talk to them after filling out a form, like just goes like this. Their chances of actually getting to you and talking to you and fulfilling, the life cycle of their of the sale. So I think from that perspective, it's great. I do think though, people like to talk to a human, and these are like high ticket clients of sorts. I mean, we call them investors, which they are, not clients, but they're high ticket clients. And so, if possible, I think it's way better to have someone like a real human call them as soon as possible. So that's what we try to do. Obviously, it's not perfect. If someone calls on the weekend, I don't think Craig's calling them up right away, which he shouldn't. Respect their time on the weekend. But that would be my only caveat. And at this point in our growth, like we don't have an overwhelming amount of investor forms being filled out, unfortunately. It would be a great problem to have where like we can't keep up with them, but at this point it's a very manageable amount where we can just get to them manually. But yeah, getting something like, that's why the automations are great. It's like you get an email right away. I think that's great. But
Yeah, and that should qualify last year that you so in that particular case example, I already had the human conversation. I invested capital
Okay.
into the fund. They're going through phases of construction and whatnot, so you can actually talk to the AI project guy that can sit there where does construction stand and how we doing on this or that. So I'm
Okay.
already read into the project. for
Got it.
The investment, but now like sort of that life cycle client relationship management you can offload.
interesting.
potentially.
So you're experiencing it from like the investor standpoint.
Yeah, I'm in.
And so you like it?
Answered everything I needed with answered. It was just perfect actually.
Interesting. What if it was? Yeah, that's interesting. I would be
I got the other
nervous.
ones that also remind me what the cost of capital was for the construction. And put it down.
Mm-hmm.
And so who's providing the financing for the bank? Financing terms. Okay. I know that's buried into like the material, but it's brought it out for me.
For sure. Yeah, and you don't feel like you're bothering someone to get it. So that's pretty cool. Where does that like chat exist?
That's on a website.
So anyone can do it, or is it like on the investor portal where it's protected if you?
Well, as in the portal, right? As a
Okay.
vetted or registered investor with a formal
Mhm.
permissions.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I don't think our portal has that functionality, but that's an interesting thing, especially for more like much quicker, easier, straightforward questions. I mean, I get investors asking like, remind me like what's the debt term on the property or how many years of IO left, like so it would be helpful in those situations. I do think like from a more like complicated perspective, like a lot of the times we like I have to go find the answer, so it wouldn't be like readily available in the model already. It's like an update about like what's happening this week. So in some cases, I think like from the other side of it, I think it would be actually a lot of work to keep up with it if it's not the super basic information.
Now, you said that you're not getting a lot of investor forms being completed. Do you know why that is?
It's not that we're not getting a lot, it's just not like an overwhelming amount that we can't manage.
Is that your number one, you want them to fill that out? Or is it a newsletter? Or
Yeah, so we get like a lot more newsletter signups, which is different from the investor form. And then we have other lead magnets that we get, but so the actual investor form, just like straight up someone's looking to invest and filling out that form is not as much. That's the lowest amount of downloads or emails that we collect per week. We have like a passive investor guide that gets a decent amount. Rob's underwriting model gets a ton of downloads. That's been like, I don't know at this point, maybe like almost 20,000 downloads for that one, just his underwriting model. But those leads are not as, what's the word? Like a lot of them are other sponsors or, people who are just curious and learning more. Exactly, like they're not passive investors as much, but the passive investor guide is pretty decent. So we call those people up as well. As far as the investor form,
that seems more mid-funnel top, I mean, the mid-funnel activity, because they're going a little bit further, but the other stuff, is top of funnel, getting them into the funnel, the downloads and et cetera, and start building a relationship and come down to the point where they may want to start investing or fill out the lead form or whatever that side of it.
right,
So I would assume that you need to have less from that anyway. Because
Right.
Your website's top of funnel, trying to get people to the website to fill things out.
right. And like ultimately the reason why we want someone to fill out the investor form is so we can get on a call with them and sell them an investment opportunity. And so like for the other downloads, we have automations going. And so the CTA isn't to go back to our website and fill out the investor form, it's to book a call directly. So
You said something there. Can you go around the room? What application are you using for your CRM or et cetera? We use Active Campaign. We're moving over to Go High Level.
oh, interesting.
On that, I can go out and
Okay.
Yeah, I switched from active campaign to go live.
Okay.
go out.
Because it's in.
Okay.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Active. HubSpot.
Yeah.
Go level. And Mailchimp. Yeah.
Okay. Well, then I don't feel like an idiot. Then, so.
That's awesome. We're an active campaign, but maybe it sounds like we might want to switch.
That's the tough thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we have like Craig and Sam who are not super tech savvy, always in active campaign. So I don't know if I would want like much more functionality, but and also though active campaign, I don't know if you guys noticed, but whoever's on active campaign, but they just did an update and like I can't even find my way around it anymore. So I've been a little frustrated with that. But yeah, I guess is it more user friendly though, but with more functionality?
It's not more user friendly.
No.
It's just a lot more.
Salesforce essentially.
Yeah.
You got everything.
Breadth of customizability, more API integration, customized.
And it's more of a CRM. Active Campaign is, to me, I could be wrong, it's in our case, it's a great email campaign, email platform. But that's about it.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Like, it's interesting all the different ways you can configure it. Like, we have investors in our portal, and that's like not really like a CRM where we don't like track investors through there. Some people do that. Like, they want people to only go to their portal, and then they like send emails from there. But yeah, it's separate. And also from like our business model with Code GPs, it's good to have them separate. It's like we have to intentionally bring some over to Active Campaign where we send our emails. So I think like from that separation standpoint, it's a good thing.
So when you guys are bringing a new offering out, do you blast that out to your list through Go High Level?
Well, we will, but through Active Campaign, we blast it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you do have a new offering, what systems have you implemented to where, you know, are you very purposeful with maybe some of your heavier hitters, direct contact, then it's the launch, then it's the, you know, how do you funnel a particular offering? I'm always fascinated to hear this from capital raisers.
So like for, I'll just say like top tier clients, like for personal email.
There you go.
Something's coming.
Yep, okay.
All right, just verifying your email. Something as simple as that, right?
Yeah.
Not pitching it, but we're just prepping them.
Yes.
So they'll look at it.
That's
Priming
right.
That's all. Yeah.
We do a phased launch, so typically, depending on the asset, we'll do what we call like a master class first. So the launch that's a little more mid-funnel, you're bringing in current clients, you're bringing in prospective, you're sending it to your entire list. The master class is not a deal, it's conceptual, it's kind of the sector, it's getting expertise in the sector.
Okay.
Then we drill down to, we have an investor club, so the investor club is an early launch. So you create scarcity where we do an early launch to investor club, you get it 48 hours early.
Okay.
So the scarcity / the
Voicemail that he pre-records.
Right, done that one before.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have, but we did.
Yeah.
Why you say you shouldn't have? It wasn't in the right cadence of the raise. Okay. Yeah. But
It was
the
too late.
technology would-
It was probably too early. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I regret it. Just because it was like,
the raise wasn't ready.
the raise was ready, but the context of what was said, the newness of the brand, the deal, wasn't the right move.
Oh, so you did that. You did the voicemail. Okay, gotcha. Sorry, I misunderstood. I thought you said that you received hours.
Nope.
Got it.
So the technology was good,
Yeah, absolutely.
but the message and timing could have been better.
Yeah.
Okay.
In retrospect. But yes, you
Yeah.
pre-record something and you've got a list of numbers and touch people, but
And what do you use for that?
you know what yours is called?
It's phone burner. But there's other.
Voicemail thing as well?
Yeah.
Yes.
Phone.
I mean, I don't know, I haven't kept up with it, but I have some friends that get litigated because they were doing auto voicemails.
Call is.
Yeah, you cannot send an auto voicemail.
Yeah, there's some regulations about that, so we had to like do some forms and stuff. It depends.
Because I just got one the other day on a deal from somebody.
Yeah,
So I
just-
didn't,
You have to subscribe to it. Yeah,
Yeah,
you can't just give people cold.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can't do
It's
calls.
permission based.
Right.
got it,
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah, it's not like super cold. These people have like been on our lists and things like that.
Okay,
So like.
cold calling is one thing you can't do, unless you're on their list, okay.
Cold leads,
Mhm.
if they're on your list.
List, right, because I have a phone number, okay.
Right.
That's where you got that opt.
Yeah. They have a lot of those, like we had to go through some trainings when we signed up for phone burner. It's not too much, but they really make sure that you're not like abusing that functionality. But yeah, I mean, it makes like a voicemail is anywhere from 30 to 60 seconds. So if you could just drop it and it has exactly what, because I don't know, I used to manually do a lot of calling and I would forget something or I would forget the way that I would say, I don't know. It's just leaving voicemails to that many people. It's very time consuming and not the perfect way to do it. So anyways, phone burner has been really helpful and has allowed like Craig to reduce that time. I want to say it like takes him a third of the time now to do the calling. More time actually talking on the phone, which is great. So yeah, that's what we do with our raises. We make sure Craig calls like anyone who has shown any inkling of interest.
Is there any other app that is a game changer for you?
Okay.
with